Hey, what's up? It's Andy. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my top 10 2019 releases. Okay, so I have these in order, starting from number 10, going to number 1, my top favorite book of the year. And these are all going to be 2019 releases. I will make another video that were my top backlist that I read in 2019. But let's just get into it. Coming in at number 10 is Mooncakes by Suzanne Walker and Wendy Zhu. This is a graphic novel that I actually got through NetGalley, so I don't have a physical copy, unfortunately. This is a witchy YA fantasy graphic novel, and I did a whole video review on this. This follows our main character, Nova, who lives with her two grandmothers, and they own and run a bookshop that has a secret witchy book section. In this story, Nova's childhood friend Tam comes back to town, and Tam is a non-binary werewolf, and the story takes off when evil people are trying to use the fact that Tam is a werewolf to have them be like possessed. Sounds kind of crazy, which it is, but the artwork in this was beautiful and the story was amazing, and Nova and Tam's relationship was perfection. If you haven't read this, you should definitely check it out. Coming in at number 9 is Serpent Dove by Shelby Mahurin. This might be one of like in the top 5 for covers. But this follows our main character, Lou, who is a witch, and she is forced to marry a witch hunter named Reed. This is the first in a YA fantasy series, but for me, this was more about the romance versus fantasy, even though the fantasy elements in here were A1. But this book had a lot of romance tropes that I liked. We have the marriage of convenience, like forced proximity because they're married. They've got to be in the same room. And that it was a hate to love romance as well as a forbidden romance. These two have major chemistry even from the beginning. And one of my favorite things is a smart mouth, irreverent, sassy main female character, and that is exactly what Lou is. She is very no holds barred when she speaks, and she's also a powerful witch on top of that. I cannot wait for the sequel to come out this year. I will gobble that up ASAP. Coming in at number 8 is The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. Now, I'm surprised that this isn't like number 1 or 2 on the list as well, but as obviously it's on my favorites. All of these are 5 out of 5 stars. But I do see the issues with this. It was a satisfying conclusion to me, but I do see the issues that people had with this. There was a lot of telling without showing, and it did feel rushed. But that being said, this series overall, I'm so glad I discovered it this year because I am complete Jude and Carden trash. Like, I am obsessed with them. And this really gave me everything I ever wanted from that. If you don't know, the first book in this series is called The Cruel Prince and follows our main character, Jude, who is a human that has grown up in the Fae world. And she is tired of being bested by the Fae her whole life. She wants to get down and dirty and be as bad as they are. And that involves having a lot of run-ins with a very sassy, cruel prince named Carden. The Fae world in this series is just so immersive, and I really love that. The relationship and hate to love aspects are perfection. Are you sensing a theme here? And this will always have a special place on my shelves and in my heart. Corny. And at number 7 is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This was the year of me discovering Talia Hibbert and the fact that she is a romance queen. This is own voices for the chronic illness and Black representation. This story follows our main character, Chloe, who almost gets hit by a car in the very beginning of the book, and her life kind of flashes before her eyes and she realizes how much of a shut-in and how boring she's been. So she makes a list of things that she wants to do so that she feels like she's had a fulfilled life and that people would be able to say anything exciting about her at her funeral. And the first step on that list is moving into her own place away from her parents. At her new apartment is the superintendent named Red. And every time these two cross paths, Chloe is not having a good day. He always sees her at her worst moments. Chloe does have fibromyalgia, and that comes with chronic pain. So when you're in pain, you're not in a good mood, and he kind of comes across her in some of those moments where she kind of is lashing out. But the two have one of the most awesome, once again, hate to love relationships. And the steamy parts in here are perfection. Talia Hibbert knows how to write some smut. But with that being said, if that isn't your thing, there are only a couple, like 2-3 scenes like that, and they are easy to kind of skip past if you want. It's not like there's important plot points in the middle that you need to read through to have a good experience. Yeah, I absolutely love this with every fiber in my being and cannot wait for this year for the next book to come out, which is, what is it? Take a Hint? Yeah, I think it's Take a Hint, Dani Brown, or Get a Clue, something, but it's about Dani Brown, one of her sisters. And I think this is probably going to be 3 parts to follow each one of the Brown sisters. And I'm so here for it. Cannot wait. And number 6 is Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. This is his 3rd novel. This is an adult thriller. And this follows our main character, Jules, who is down on her luck and really needs some money. She comes across an ad for an apartment sitter, basically. And the situation is they pay you tons of money to live in an apartment in the building called the Bartholomew. I forget the exact numbers, but it is like a lot of money just to be living in a really nice apartment. But it comes with a lot of weird rules, like you are not allowed to ever like be away for a night, and you can't have people over. Definitely like no one staying the night. And you're not supposed to talk to any of the other residents in the building and like have any kind of like friendships or conversations with people that live there as well. And this had me guessing until the end. The big reveal and plot twist was perfection. Only other thing I'm going to say plot-wise is the story takes off when she has made friends with another apartment sitter. She ends up going missing, and the main character's trying to find what happened. Absolutely love Riley Sager, and I cannot wait for his book coming out in 2020. Okay, now we are getting into the top 5. Number 5, Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. This is a YA fantasy series, and our main character is named Elizabeth. And she's an orphan who grew up in one of these magical libraries. In these libraries, grimoires that are made by these sorcerers who are thought to be evil are alive, and they are held in these libraries so they don't like wreak havoc. So basically there's different levels of these grimoires, but when one like gets loose and goes bad, it turns into a monster. And Elizabeth ends up having to live with a sorcerer named Nathaniel Thorn, who I love with every fiber of my being. He is amazing. And his like demon companion. Each sorcerer has a demon that they kind of like sell their souls to have magic. It sounds crazy, I know. But his little demon, Silas, you wouldn't think that a demon had a heart of gold, but or at least Silas does. This is definitely a book for book lovers and library lovers, and I absolutely loved it. And what else is amazing is this is a standalone fantasy. which we do not see enough of. So shout out to Margaret Rogerson for that. Coming in at number 4 is Winterwood by Shay Earnshaw. This is a recent read, and this is a standalone whimsical contemporary. I wouldn't classify it as fantasy exactly, but this follows our main character, Nora, who is a witch from a long line of witches. And she lives in this really secluded town by the Wicker Woods. So what she does is this forest during the full moon goes to sleep, and that's when she's able to go in there and collect lost objects. But one night when she's out there, she comes across a boy who looks like he's dead out there, and for all like reality he should be dead, but he's not. She comes to find out that he is a missing boy from it's basically like a camp for delinquent boys. She finds out a boy went missing and one was murdered. So now she's trying to find out, is Oliver a murderer or what's the deal here? This is so beautiful. Like, Shay Earnshaw's writing is so immersive and lyrical and just beautiful. And I really enjoyed parts in this where Nora is struggling with being the like outcast witch and being comfortable being alone, but also kind of craving people to share her life with, which I related real hard to. And this, if you haven't read it, give it a shot. Some people prefer The Wicked Deep, and I don't know, I think this might beat that, but they're both favorites of mine and absolutely beautiful. And number 3 is The Last True Poets of the Sea by Julia Drake. This is a YA contemporary, and our main character's name is Violet, and her brother's name is Sam. When this novel starts off, Sam is in a mental health facility because he has tried to commit suicide, and Violet is not dealing with things well in life, has become a real like party animal and like throwing herself at men and really inappropriate older men. And she does this at the hospital that her brother's staying in, and her parents send her off to Lyric to live with her uncle. And it has one of those small town, whimsical coastal settings, which I live for. And Violet, or Vi, is bisexual, which we stan, and the discussion on that in here was perfection. In Lyric, Vi becomes friends with a close group of friends and is torn between like really, really falling for one of the boys and one of the girls. And the romance that ends up coming out of this is so sweet and pure. But while this really wasn't a focus on the relationship, this was more about like family relationships, healing yourself, coming into your own and realizing what kind of person you want to be. And this made me really soft, and I think about it all the time. It was really amazing. I have to give credit to Chelsea Darling Reads, or Chelsea, for talking about this book, because it was not on my radar until then, and I absolutely love it. Alright, my second most favorite 2019 release is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. A lot of people have hyped this up this year and has made a lot of top 10 lists, but for very good reason. This follows our main characters, Alex, who is the first son of a U.S. female president, and Henry, who is a Prince of England. These two start off as enemies and get into a very like public altercation, which is not good for PR. So they're forced to like really make nice and be seen in public being friends. And through this, they actually do end up becoming friends, and then more than friends. Alex is coming to terms with and realizing that he is bi, so I guess you can kind of sense a theme here in my favorites. But I thought that discussion was very well done. The banter between Alex and Henry is so funny. I was laughing a lot. And this does have a lot of political elements in it. This does take place during like a re-election year for Alex's mom. And those parts had me very emotional, like, you know, coming off of the 2016 stuff. And it just felt very hopeful and like really makes you hopeful for the future, which is why I think a lot of people really did love this. I can't believe this is a debut because it was perfection, and I absolutely cannot wait for Casey McQuiston's next book to come out in 2020. Okay, we are to number 1. Any guesses to what it is? Because I pretty much talk about it in every other video, so I don't think it's going to be any surprise that my number 1 favorite book of 2019 was Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Like, not only do I love the story, but like, come on, this is so my aesthetic, it's not even funny. This is the first in an adult fantasy series by the goddess herself, Leigh Bardugo. This follows our main character, Galaxy, aka Alex. She's given a scholarship to Yale to join this society that like monitors and protects these secret societies at Yale, which are basically like little dark academia baby cult type things. But what's so special about Alex, why she's chosen, is because she can see ghosts, which are called greys. And during these societies, like rituals, the greys really feed off of that energy and can come around and really cause some trouble. So it is this group's responsibility to monitor that, keep the greys away. And not many people can see them, so that's why Alex is so important. And there's also a mystery aspect to this. There is a murder and it's kind of written off, but Alex isn't buying their explanation and takes it upon herself to find out who has killed this girl and to find out if it was any of these secret societies involved. And there's another character in here named Darlington, who is Alex's like mentor, like learning the process of her job. And we find out in the beginning of the book that in current day, Darlington is missing. So you're also going through this book trying to find out what happened to him. This book switches timelines and perspectives between like current and past day, and you get Alex and Darlington's point of views. And Leigh Bardugo's writing, as usual, was just perfection. This had a lot of like kind of gore in it, on top of the fantastical elements. Dealt with some hard topics like abuse, like drug use, sexual abuse, domestic violence. So definitely trigger warnings for those. This isn't for everyone. I found this book is pretty polarizing. Either you absolutely love it and it's your favorite thing in the world like me, or you just really aren't into it at all. So just go into it knowing those trigger warnings and like be mindful of like the timelines. Like each chapter is labeled of like basically like fall, winter, spring, and it flips back and forth. So at first it can be a little hard to keep track of, but then you like really get into it. But just be mindful of that in the beginning. If this sounds like something that you'd be into, give it a shot. Like I said, you either love it or hate it. And I'm sort of sad that we have to wait until, I think it's 2021 is when the next in this series is coming out. And I don't know what I'm going to do with my life, honestly. But yeah, favorite book of 2019. That's all of them. I don't think there were really any surprises because I've kind of raved about all of these and kind of championed them in like about every other video. So let me know if any of them surprised you. Let me know what some of your favorite books of the year were. And as always, my social medias are linked down below. Be my friend on some other platforms. It's pretty fun. Subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. I am also going to be doing a best of 2019 backlist as mentioned earlier, so stay tuned for that. You can go ahead and watch some of my other videos while you're waiting for that upload. And until then, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!